Hello, I'm attorney and mediator Blaine McCarthy, founder of the Christian Lawyer Directory. Today we are shining the member lawyer spotlight on Diana Mohyi, who is in New York City. Thank you for joining me today, Diana.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in the Midwest in Michigan, and when I was, quite young, I just had this dream to go to New York City and move there, and I didn't know what I was going to do there or anything, but eventually, I felt led down the path to becoming a lawyer. And I got my New York license, I got my Michigan license, I sat for two bar exams.
Whew.
And I found my way to, finding a way to earn a living in New York City. I worked in-house at a anti-aging clinic and vitamin company for about 5 years, where I got a really good experience with just various areas of law. So it was more like my general experience. And then, at a certain point, it made sense to go off on my own. One reason is because my employer went bankrupt, and so it was kind of like that motivator to kind of like, get out of my comfort zone. And I just felt like the opportunities I saw were not really what I was looking for, and I just wanted to just do my own thing. And so then I started a law practice of my own, and just, started off being a little bit more general as well. And then I quickly realized that the best way to not only be valuable to my clients, but also to stand out was actually to choose an area of law and distinctly,
Sure.
let people know, like, I do this particular area of law, which is divorce and family law.
Perfect. Well, tell us about that. Tell us about your practice in divorce and family law.
So it's definitely a very challenging practice area, and there's definitely a lot of you know, people that might try to dabble in this area, but I exclusively focus on it. And it's definitely the raw content of life, the dirty laundry per se, but it's the reality of life. I mean, people they have this need to, have a divorce or or ask that you help them with the marital agreement, or even they may have child support needs or child custody challenges. And some might say, like, oh, well, do you really need to get a divorce? Well, I mean, if you've lived, for a little bit on this earth, and you see that we live in a very, like, sickly, like, state. There's a lot of people who have, issues and problems, and, a lot of people may be good at hiding them, but there are people that could be in very disturbed home lives, and they really do need to get out for the safety of their own children. Domestic violence, I mean, if you allow your children to be exposed to it, even if you are the victim and you just continue to stay in that particular circumstance, it actually, you may be in a situation where your child might be taken away from you. And it sounds like a punishment, but the reality is that society has an interest in protecting your children from that kind of environment as well. And so what do I do as a practitioner? Yes, I file documents, I fill out forms, but I also, I do motions. I help make arguments that help people get out of very difficult situations and also have the financial support that they need. If they've, for example, spent, 30, 40 years in a marriage, and they, took care of the kids in the home life, and they don't have work experience. They can't just go off into the job market and be marketable, and they
Yeah.
are entitled to have a certain amount of support. So that's, an example of what I do to help people.
Well, Dan, obviously, as a fellow Christian lawyer, I believe incorporating faith in your practice is very important, and I would think in your particular field of family law, maybe even more so. So tell us how you incorporate your Christian faith into your practice and handling your clients' needs within the context of family law.
Well, I definitely enjoy, first of all, having to be able to sleep at night. So I, fare with people in, how I use their resources. Like, I also try to be really understanding about where people are coming from. They can be in very, distraught states. And,
Sure.
we as Christians have learned, that there's a certain way that we should be dealing with our fellow man, and that is not just at church on Sunday, but it's in the real world when you're dealing with someone that may be, so antagonistic towards you. Even like the other side, they may be doing really hard tactics that are just like, just crazy. But you have to realize that in the end of the day, that's a human being, and God loves them too. And, even though they're being, terrible to you, perhaps because like, they're, worried about whatever resources they may have at the end of the day, like you have to look at that as like a fearful person. Like you have to not try not to fight fire with fire. I mean, I think there's a difference between, putting your foot down and setting a healthy boundary versus like scorched earth tactics that destroy your client's resources and aren't good for anyone.
Right.
And so that's where I try really hard, imperfect as I may be, to just keep in mind, I guess you would say focus on Jesus, and what he's taught, and that can help you turn away from that this person it just is in your kind of viewfinder that is causing so much disruption and havoc in your life. But you have to step back and be like, well, I have to act like a bigger person. Like that's what this life is. It's not, reacting when someone is behaving a certain way to you. It's to act better than, society would encourage you to do, in the face of some, really terrible situations.
Well said, Diana. You're right. It's a struggle, but one I think we need to continue to persevere for. So thank you so much for having that attitude and bringing that to your client base. Thank you for being here in the Christian Lawyer Directory, and thank you for allowing us to share a little bit of the Member Lawyer Spotlight on Diana Mohyi. So I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. Diana, thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.